Hi and welcome to the DE Physical Education Flip Learning videos.
The vascular system. The vascular system. The vascular system is made up of the blood vessels that carry blood through the body. These blood vessels deliver oxygen and nutrients to the body tissues and take away waste products such as carbon dioxide. Together with the heart and the lungs, the blood vessels ensure that muscles have an adequate supply of oxygen during exercise in order to cope with the increased demand for energy. There are two key words here, pulmonary and systematic. Pulmonary is deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs and oxygenated blood back to the heart, whereas systematic is oxygenated blood to the body from the heart and then the return of deoxygenated blood from the body to the heart. The vascular system consists of 5 different blood vessels that carry blood from the heart, distribute it around the body and then return it to the heart. As you can see here, we start in the heart, then we go to the arteries, then the arterioles, then the capillaries, the venules, veins, and then back to the heart. Each blood vessel is slightly different in structure. Veins have thinner muscles, elasticated tissue layers, blood is at a low pressure, and they have valves and a wider lumen. Arteries have the highest pressure and consequently have more of an elastic outer layer to cope with these fluctuations in pressure, a smaller lumen, and a smoother inner layer. Capillaries are only wide enough to allow one red blood cell to pass through at a given time. This slows down the blood flow and allows the exchange of nutrients within the tissues to take place by diffusion. Blood pressure. During exercise, it is important to increase the blood flow through the circulatory system so that the muscles receive the oxygen they require. An increase in blood pressure can achieve this. Blood pressure is the force exerted by the blood against the blood vessel wall and is often referred to as blood flow times resistance. When the heart contracts, it forces blood out under high pressure. This is called systolic pressure, or pressure of concentration. The lower pressure as ventricles relax is called the diastolic pressure. Blood pressure is measured at the brachial artery in the upper arm. A typical reading is 120 over 80. 120 is the systolic, 80 is the diastolic. Blood pressure is different in various blood vessels and is largely dependent on the distance the blood vessel is from the heart. The low pressure of the blood in the veins means that the mechanisms are needed to pump the blood back to the heart. Key terms you should know. Blood pressure. The force exerted by the blood against the blood vessel walls. Systolic pressure. The pressure in the arteries when the ventricles are contracting. Diastolic pressure. The pressure in the arteries when the ventricles are relaxing. Venous return. Venous return is the return of the blood to the right side of the heart via the vena cava. Up to 70% of the total volume of the blood is contained in our veins at rest. This means that a large amount of blood can be returned to the heart when needed. During exercise, the amount of blood returned to the heart, or venous return, increases. This means that more blood is being pumped back to the heart, then more blood is being pumped out, so stroke volume will increase. This is Startlin's law. The Frank-Startlin law theorizes that the heart can change its cardiac output according to the incoming volume of blood. Basically, more blood that comes in, it works harder to pump it back out. Venous return mechanisms. The pressure of the blood in the large veins is very low, and this makes it difficult to return the blood to the heart. In addition, the large lumen of the veins offers little resistance to the blood flow. This means that active mechanisms are needed to help venous return. There are 3 mechanisms that help venous return: the skeletal muscle pumps, the respiratory pump, and pocket valves. The skeletal muscle pump. When muscle contracts and relax, they change shape. This change in shape means that the muscles press on a nearby vein and cause a pumping effect and squeeze the blood towards the heart. The respiratory pump. When muscles contract and relax during breathing in and breathing out, pressure changes occur in the thoracic and abdominal cavities. These changes in pressure compress the nearby veins and assist blood returned to the heart. Pocket valves. It is important that the blood in the veins only flows in one direction. The presence of valves ensures that this happens. This is because once blood has passed through the valves, They close and prevent blood backflow. Other factors that will affect venous return. A very thin layer of smooth muscles in the wall of the veins. This helps squeeze blood back towards the heart. Gravity helps the blood return to the heart from the upper body. And the suction pump action of the heart will pull blood back towards it. It's important to maintain venous return during exercise to ensure the skeletal muscles are receiving enough oxygen to meet the demands of the activity. At rest, valves and smooth muscles found in the veins are sufficient enough to maintain the venous return. However, this is not the case during exercise. The demand for oxygen is greater and the heart is beating faster, so the vascular system has to help out too. Now the skeletal pump and the respiratory pump are needed to ensure that venous return is maintained during exercise. This is possible because our skeletal muscles are constantly contracting and our breathing is elevated. Immediately after exercise, we still need to maintain these mechanisms. Performing an active cool down will keep the skeletal muscle pump and the respiratory pump working, preventing blood from pooling, blood collecting in the veins. The impact of blood pressure on venous return. Systolic pressure is the pressure in the blood vessels when the ventricles are contracting, and diastolic pressure is the pressure in the blood vessels when the ventricles are relaxing. When systolic pressure decreases, there is a decrease in venous return. These are all the various arteries and veins that are within your body. With our arteries and veins, there's some slight differences. As you can see on the left-hand side, the lumen is quite small. And we look at the vein on the right-hand side, the lumen is quite big. This is because there is a thick layer of muscles and elasticated fibres on our arteries, which make the lumen smaller, whereas on our veins it's fairly thin. Difference between arteries and veins. There are four main differences between our arteries and veins. The first one is that oxygenated blood is carried within our arteries and deoxygenated within our veins. Within a vein it has a valve, which an artery does not. The lumen is a different size, as we can see here. The smooth muscle fibres and elastic fibres, again, are different. As you can see in our artery, they're thicker. In our vein, they are thinner. And finally, our connective tissues are slightly thinner in our arteries and slightly thicker in our veins. Other differences between veins and arteries. Arteries carry blood away from the heart to the tissues. They have thick muscular walls and have elasticated walls. They also contain blood under high pressure, usually contain oxygenated blood, except the pulmonary artery, and they do not contain valves. Whereas our veins carry blood towards the heart from the tissues of the body, have thin and less muscular walls, and have less elasticated walls. They contain blood under low pressure, usually contain deoxygenated blood, apart from the pulmonary vein, and contains valves. Arterioles, arteries, veins, and venules. Arterioles connect arteries to the capillaries. They are similar to arteries but have thinner walls, and they can change diameter to control the blood to the capillaries. Venules connect capillaries to the veins. Capillaries are 1 cell thick and allow the diffusion of gases. They surround the muscle and the alveoli to allow the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. As you can see here, our vein goes to our venule, capillaries, arterioles, artery. So artery, arterioles, capillaries, venules, veins, in that order. Capillary beds. Capillary beds are networks of blood vessels that allow the transportation of nutrients and oxygen to the body. As you can see in this diagram on the right hand side, these are the main areas where the beds will be, because this allows diffusion into our biggest working muscles. Keywords you should know. Arterioles, small arteries which have a large layer of smooth muscle allowing the lumen diameter to be altered. Capillaries, vessels of a singular layer of cells which penetrate the muscle and organ cells. They allow for gas, nutrient and waste exchange. Venules, the smaller blood vessels carrying deoxygenated blood back towards the heart.